Right now, as you're watching this video, there are an estimated 25 to 50 active serial killers roaming free across America. But what's even more terrifying is that 5 of history's most notorious killers have never been caught, never been identified, and could still be alive today, living normal lives, working regular jobs, maybe even living next door to you. These aren't just cold cases that went nowhere. These are killers who taunted police, left behind evidence, and then simply vanished into society like ghosts. Some sent letters to newspapers, others called police directly, and a few even appeared on TV interviews while their crimes were being investigated. Today, I'm going to reveal 5 serial killers who could still be walking among us right now. Each case will show you how easily a monster can hide behind a normal face. And the final killer on this list, well, there's evidence suggesting he's been watching the investigation into his own crimes for over 40 years. So stay until the end, because what you learn might make you look at your neighbors very differently. Killer 1. The Zodiac Killer. The first killer on our list is perhaps the most famous unsolved case in American history, the Zodiac Killer. Between 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac murdered at least 5 people in Northern California. But what made him truly terrifying wasn't just his crimes, it was how he played with the police and media. The Zodiac sent encrypted letters to newspapers, called police to report his own crimes, and even appeared to be present at crime scenes when investigators arrived. He claimed to have killed 37 people, though only 5 deaths have been confirmed. But here's what makes this case so chilling. The Zodiac was likely a young man in his 20s or 30s when he committed these crimes. If he was 25 in 1969, he would be 81 years old today. That means there's a very real possibility that the Zodiac Killer is still alive, still out there, and has been living a normal life for over 50 years, while one of the most famous manhunts in history continued around him. Think about that for a moment. The Zodiac could be someone's grandfather now. He could be the quiet old man who lives down the street, the retired teacher who volunteers at the library, or the friendly neighbor who waves at you every morning. The most terrifying part, he's probably been following every documentary, every book, and every news report about his crimes, knowing that he got away with murder. In 2020, a team of investigators claimed they had identified the Zodiac Killer, but the case remains officially unsolved. Somewhere out there, a man is carrying one of the darkest secrets in criminal history, and he's been hiding it in plain sight for over half a century. Killer 2. The original Nightstalker. The second killer on our list terrorized California for over a decade, and unlike the Zodiac, this killer's crimes were far more personal and brutal. Known as the original Nightstalker, this predator committed over 50 rapes and at least 12 murders between 1976 and 1986. What made the original Nightstalker so terrifying was his method. He would break into homes in the middle of the night, attack couples in their own beds, and seem to know intimate details about his victims' lives before he struck. He would call victims before and after attacks, sometimes months later, just to terrorize them further. But here's what's truly chilling about this case. The original Nightstalker was methodical, intelligent, and careful. He left very little evidence behind, and when DNA technology became available, investigators found that he had never been arrested for any crime. This means he had no criminal record, appeared to be a law-abiding citizen, and was hiding his true nature from everyone around him. The killer was described as a white male, likely in his 20s or 30s during his crime spree. If he was 30 in 1986, he would be 69 years old today. That means there's a strong possibility that the original Nightstalker is still alive, still out there, and has been living among us for nearly 40 years. Think about the implications of this. For 4 decades, this man has been someone's coworker, neighbor, maybe even husband or father. He's attended family gatherings, neighborhood barbecues, and community events, all while carrying the secret that he's one of California's most wanted killers. The most disturbing part? In 2018, investigators finally caught a suspect, Joseph James D'Angelo, a former police officer who had been living a quiet suburban life for decades. But what if they got the wrong man? What if the real, original Nightstalker is still out there, watching the investigation, relieved that someone else is taking the blame for his crimes? Killer 3. The Long Island Serial Killer. The third killer on our list is still actively being investigated today, which means there's a very real possibility that he's not just alive. He might still be killing. The Long Island Serial Killer, also known as the Gilgo Beach Killer, has been linked to at least 10 murders along the coast of Long Island, New York. What makes this case particularly terrifying is that the killings appear to be ongoing. Bodies have been discovered as recently as 2020, and investigators believe the killer has been operating for over 20 years. This isn't a historical case. This is a present-day monster who could strike again at any time. The killer's victims were primarily sex workers who advertised online, and investigators believe he uses the internet to select and contact his victims before luring them to their deaths. This means the Long Island serial killer is tech-savvy, organized, and has adapted his methods to modern technology. But here's what's most chilling about this case. The killer appears to live or work on Long Island, which means he's part of that community. He shops at local stores, drives on local roads, and interacts with local people every single day. He might be the person who serves your coffee, fixes your car, or sits next to you on the train. In 2023, investigators arrested Rex Hoyerman, a Long Island architect, in connection with some of the murders. But many experts believe there could be multiple killers operating in the area, or that the real killer is still out there while an innocent man faces charges. The most terrifying thought is this: if the Long Island serial killer is still active, he's probably watching the news coverage of his case, reading about the investigation online, and planning his next move. He could be anyone, anywhere on Long Island, and he's been hiding in plain sight for over 2 decades. Killer 4. The Doodler. The fourth killer on our list operated in San Francisco during the 1970s. And what makes his case unique is that several of his victims actually survived and provided detailed descriptions. Yet he was never caught. Known as the Doodler, this killer targeted gay men in San Francisco's Castro district, sketching portraits of his victims before killing them. Between 1974 and 1975, the Doodler killed at least 5 men and attacked several others. Witnesses described him as a young black man, well-dressed and charming, who would approach victims in gay bars and offer to draw their portrait. He would lure them to secluded areas, attack them, and leave their bodies to be discovered. What makes this case so frustrating is that investigators had multiple witnesses, detailed descriptions, and even composite sketches of the killer. But this was the 1970s, and many of the victims and witnesses were reluctant to come forward due to the stigma surrounding homosexuality at the time. The Doodler was described as being in his early 20s during his crime spree. If he was 25 in 1975, he would be 75 years old today. This means there's a very real possibility that the Doodler is still alive, still out there, and has been living in the San Francisco Bay Area for nearly 50 years. Think about this. The Doodler could be someone's grandfather now, a retired man who seems harmless and friendly. He might volunteer at community centers, attend church regularly, or be known as the neighborhood artist who still enjoys sketching. The very skill he used to lure his victims, his ability to draw, could still be part of his public persona today. The most chilling part of this case is that the Doodler was comfortable operating in a specific community, which suggests he was part of that community himself. He knew the bars, the people, and the culture well enough to blend in and gain his victims' trust. This means he wasn't just hiding from the police, he was hiding from people who knew him personally. Killer 5. The Phantom Killer. The final killer on our list is perhaps the most mysterious of all, because his identity remains completely unknown despite decades of investigation. Known as the Phantom Killer, this predator terrorized the town of Texarkana in 1946, killing 5 people and wounding 3 others in a series of attacks that seemed to come from nowhere. What made the Phantom Killer so terrifying was his unpredictability. He attacked couples in parked cars, broke into homes, and seemed to strike at random with no clear motive. Witnesses described him as wearing a white hood with holes cut out for eyes, giving him an almost supernatural appearance. But here's what makes this case truly chilling. The Phantom Killer was never caught, never identified, and simply disappeared after his final attack. It was as if he vanished into thin air, leaving behind only terror and unanswered questions. The killer was described as a young man, likely in his 20s or 30s during the attacks. If he was 30 in 1946, he would be 109 years old today, which means he's probably dead. But if he was younger, say 20 years old, he would be 99 today, and there are people who live to that age. But here's the truly terrifying possibility. What if the Phantom Killer wasn't acting alone? What if he was part of a group? Or what if he taught his methods to someone else? The attacks were so organized and methodical that some investigators believe there could have been multiple people involved. This means that even if the original Phantom Killer is dead, his methods, his techniques, and his knowledge could have been passed down to someone else, someone who learned from the master, someone who knows how to kill without leaving evidence, someone who could be out there right now waiting for the right moment to strike. The most disturbing part of the Phantom Killer case is that it was never solved, which means the methods he used to avoid capture were never fully understood. If someone wanted to commit similar crimes today, they could study the Phantom Killer's techniques and potentially get away with murder, just like he did. So there you have it. 5 serial killers who could still be alive today, hiding in plain sight among us. The Zodiac Killer could be your elderly neighbor. The original Nightstalker could be the quiet man at the grocery store. The Long Island serial killer could be someone you pass on the street every day. These cases remind us of a terrifying truth. Monsters don't always look like monsters. They can be charming, intelligent, and completely normal on the surface, while hiding the darkest secrets imaginable. The person sitting next to you on the bus, serving your coffee, or living next door could be carrying secrets that would horrify you. If this video opened your eyes to how easily killers can hide among us, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more true crime content that will keep you looking over your shoulder. And let me know in the comments which of these cases terrified you the most. Thanks for watching, and remember, they could be anyone, anywhere.